Welcome back to Eli the Computer Guy Codes a Janky Django app. So here we are. Look at this. This is our little note-taking app, the social media platform for people who like to talk to themselves. So again, I started learning Django about a little less than a month ago, and this is the project that I've been able to code up until this point in time. And basically, the idea is, with Twitter, they have tweets. With Facebook, you have posts. With YouTube, you have videos. And kind of with all of these social media tools, it's about you talking to the world, which I think causes a lot of problems. So what if we created a social media site where it's you talking to yourself? Right? And so the idea is the note. The note is the main unit of whatever for this particular platform. And then essentially you can eavesdrop on the other notes that people are taking, right? So right now I can click on the following tab. And if I click on the following tab, I can see the people that I'm following. So I'm following Fred, Sue, Philip, and Tim. And if I take a look here, I can see all of the posts that they're doing. So the idea is that they create notes for themselves, and then I can kind of just look over the shoulder. It's not a conversation. We're not having a rhetorical debate. I'm simply writing something, you're looking over my shoulder, now go the hell away, right? Anyway, so this is what I've been creating, and I like it. To be clear, you'll actually see that I am using it quite a bit, and I think this is kind of like one of the first proofs of a use case is, do you actually use your own product? Again, there's one of those things out there. We talk about that in the startup world. One of the big problems in the startup world is you have a lot of people coming out with products, and there's this whole question about how much people will pay for a product. And one of my questions is, would somebody use your product for free? Like literally, if you just gave it away, would there be a stampede of users? Or would it still be a trickle of users, right? If you gave your product away for free and there's still a trickle of users, you got bigger issues, right? Again, along that line, one of the big questions for your product is, do you use it? Do you use it? If you don't even want to use it, that's probably the first warning sign. So one of the things I'll say with this, because I've been getting some advice about, Eli, there are some other note-taking apps out there. Why are you creating your own note-taking app? Because honestly, I've used a lot of the other note-taking apps out there, and the functionality just isn't for me. To be clear. Trigger warning! For me, the functionality is just not as good as this janky little Django app. So I'm very happy with that. But what I want to talk about today, basically going through this whole coding project, is why you should spend so much time on planning and less time on actually coding. Like a lot of times, especially people that are new to the tech industry, think most of the work is the coding or the running cables or whatever else, and then a little bit of work goes into planning. When in reality, it should be like 80% of the work is actually the planning phase, and then only 20% is the work phase. Because if you do not plan well, you are going to create a lot more work for yourself, and you're going to have to go through and you're going to change things and fix things and the whole 9 yards. I'm running into that issue here, right? So again, I am completely and utterly pulling this app out of my ass. Again, to be clear, I'm quite shocked, but there's almost no copy and paste. There's truly, there's almost no copy and paste in this entire code base right here. But I'm completely pulling this out of my ass. And so, I go through and it's like, okay, I know I want notes, right? That was understandable. Okay, I know I want tags. I know I want to be able to edit. Don't want to be able to edit other people's posts. I know I want users, right? But one of the interesting things that came in here is the area between kind of like the header widget and the notes, right? So this is the header. Home, tag cloud, note takers, new note, right? That's its own thing. I got a little search thing. That's its own thing. That is at the top of every single page you go to. Any page you go to is going to have that at the top. And that's fine, right? Zero issues there. Again, the notes, they show how they're supposed to show. But then here is that kind of like that question. It's like, what should kind of go in this area for the following? And so one of the problems is since I did not plan this very well, This whole thing is a bit of a disaster, right? So, I don't know. If I click on include, we'll notice that the entire following thing disappears. So even though I'm still on my account, I'm still on my profile file account, I can no longer see who I'm following. If I go back to full list, right, I can click on me, Eli, and then you can notice when you click on me, I actually get something that's pretty decent, right? I get my name, last time I visited, really last time I logged in. I get a bio of who I am. I get my social media accounts here that are actually clickable. And then this is one of the things that I created yesterday. I get all the tags for what I have created and how many posts or notes, I've done with those tags in it, right? So append has 2, authenticated has 1, string has 2, right? But the thing is, so like, oh, okay, so what has Eli done notes about append for? And if I click this, we'll notice social media disappears and all my tags disappear. And this is because I did not do very good planning. So today and tomorrow, I need to go through and rework how this whole center area widget is done, right? Because we're using Django, and so Django uses either the MVC, Model View Controller Model, or the MVT, Model View Template Model, depending on how much you want to complain about crap. But one of the things is, right, so in order for a page to show up, there's all this back-end code that has to occur. And then with that back-end code, there's something called context. And these are all the values that get shipped from the view file to the template to then show up here. And so since I really wasn't thinking about it, one of the big issues here is essentially I was coding all of this logic for each one of these pages. Like this page has its own logic built into it. This page has its own logic built into it. This page has its own logic built into it. This page has its own logic built into it. And right, one of the big things in technology is you should replicate things as much as possible. So you'll notice this is the same, right? So this is actually basically just an include. Well, it's not really an include, but it's on the main HTML, right? So this is just in the template for every single thing. So this is the template for every single thing. How this gets printed out is basically reused for every time things show up. But the issue is that little middle bit got hard-coded essentially into each individual view. And because of that, that's a bit of a disaster. So now what I need to do is I need to rip out this hard coding from each individual view, and then I need to create one kind of like widget view. So that's what I'll do is I'll create widgets. I'll create a widget view. I'll then have to create the logic behind that widget view. And, that's just going to be a couple of hours to do. So all the work I've done up until this point to get this kind of thing to function basically has to then get ripped out and redone. And so this is why planning matters. Again, you'll hear about things like wireframing. So what wireframing is literally you can just sketch it out on a piece of paper. You draw out what the app is supposed to look like. And then with you drawing it out, you then plan out what all the code is supposed to do. And basically why that's important is then when you're scribbling on the piece of paper, you can look at something, you can realize you're replicating that across multiple pages. You can say, oh, that needs to be a widget instead of hard-coded in this one page. And then when you go to code that, you then code the widget and then essentially include the widget onto all the pages where the widget needs to be included. Versus the crap show here that I am showing you. So anyways, I am Eli the Computer Guy. Don't do as I do. Sometimes do what I say. So anyways, there you go. But like I say, I am actually liking this. I know I get some comments from people saying, "Oh, why don't I do whatever else?" But this is actually functional. Like one of the things I think about with this note-taking app, and again, when you take a look at it, this is very simple. Almost no CSS. Almost no CSS. I use some background color, and what's that, margins or whatever. That's all I'm using for CSS right now. But what I kind of think about this, like with a note-taking app, is it's almost like Craigslist, right? You look at Craigslist, and Craigslist looks like something that was built in the 90s. It looks absolutely horrible. And then you realize that Craigslist literally destroyed the modern news business, truthfully. Right? Because, yeah, although it looks like it was built in the 90s, the fact is it does what it needs to do really, 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 really well. And so why screw with it? That's why I kind of look with this note-taking app, right? Yes, there's not a native Mac app. There's aren't other native apps. There's not all of this fancy stuff. But again, if I just need basic stuff, like it's like, oh crap, how do I do a union, right? Union is when you connect to data sets. I can just simply put in union. I can hit insert, and it's like, oh, okay, so that's how I do the union again, right? That's what I need. I don't know about anybody else, but that's what I need. So anyways, there we go. This is our little note-taking app up until this point in time. It's now Wednesday. It's now Wednesday, so it might not get deployed. It's probably not going to get deployed publicly this week. Maybe next week, as they say. Maybe next week. So anyways, if you like this kind of content, give us a thumbs up. If you don't like this kind of content, give us a thumbs down. Leave us a comment. Subscribe. We're almost to 1,000 subscribers. And with that, see y'all later.